Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching Brass Tacks. I'm Anand Narasimhan. There's been a deadly Naxal attack in Dantewada in Chhattisgarh, in which 10 policemen and their driver were killed. It is the first major attack in recent times. Overall, Maoist terror has been on a decline in the country. But this attack is indeed a wake-up call. Because we are given to understand here at CNN News 18 that basic SOPs like having an advanced party, not taking the same route while returning, these were not followed. Were these jawans sitting ducks?
This giant crater in the middle of the road is proof of just how deadly the Naxal attack in Chhattisgarh's Dantewada was. 10 policemen and their driver were killed when their minivan was blown up by an improvised explosive device.
बताया जाता है कि आज सुबह डीआरजी के जवान इसी इलाके के गश्त पे थे और सुबह जो है माओवादियों के साथ एक मुठभेड़ भी हुई थी, ऐसी सूचना मिल रही है। और फिलहाल जो है माओवादियों ने एक बड़े घात को अंजाम देते हुए जो है एक आईडी ब्लास्ट की है, जिसमें जवान शहीद हो गए हैं।
The policemen belonged to the District Reserve Guard. They were trained to combat Naxals and were in fact returning from an anti-Naxal operation. The team was returning in a vehicle to their headquarters when an IED planted on the road exploded.
अतिरिक्त रिइंफोर्समेंट पार्टी सीआरपीएफ डीआरजी घटनास्थल पहुंच गई है। अभी घटनास्थल से सभी शहीदों का बॉडी को इवैक्यूएशन का कार्रवाई की जा रही है। स्पॉट में सीनियर ऑफिसर्स का भी अभी पहुंच गए हैं। अभी लगातार सर्चिंग अभियान जारी है और घटनास्थल की जो निरीक्षण के पश्चात और संपूर्ण विवरण प्राप्त हो सके।
Chhattisgarh Chief Minister Bhupesh Baghel vowed to continue fighting red terror.
जो ये लड़ाई है वो अंतिम दौर पे चल रहा है और नक्सलियों को किसी सूरत में छोड़ा नहीं जाएगा।
This is the second big Naxal attack in Chhattisgarh this year. In February, 3 security personnel were killed during an encounter with Naxals in Sukma district. So is it the return of red terror in Chhattisgarh?
So did the Reserve Guard, District Reserve Guard, walk into a trap with the intel about Naxal presence or Maoist presence? One big lapse is that they used the same road twice for going up and down, thereby opening themselves up not just for monitoring by the Maoists, but also being targeted directly. They also travelled in a vehicle despite the SOP clearly stating that this should be avoided because they can be trapped. In fact, the SOP is to walk during operations and take a different route while coming back. Also, a team of only 10 District Reserve Guard or DRG personnel were involved in an anti-Maoist operation. That's too small a team for conducting an operation. And even then, no reinforcement was sought after contact was made with the Naxals. So could these lives have been saved? Were they sitting ducks? Let's go straight across to T.S. Singh Devji, Cabinet Minister, Chhattisgarh, joining us. Namaste. Thank you for speaking with us here at CNN News 18. My first question to you, Mr. Dev. Were these DRG personnel as good as sitting ducks? Only 10 of them deployed for an anti-Naxal operation.
Not really. As far as I know, though I'm not in Raipur, I'm not in Chhattisgarh today. I'm in Bhopal with my family. But the information that has come in that this blast took place at about 12:45 in the afternoon. After the group was returning from a exchange of fire with the Naxalites. This is about 45 kilometers south of Dantewada, which is the district headquarters. And it was a convoy of vehicles. This was not a single vehicle. There's not just 10 people. There were 10 people in the civilian vehicle, of course camouflaged, who were affected by the IED blast and who were martyred. 10 police personnel and 1 driver, civilian driver. All local boys, all district force boys, I think. All of them were tribal boys. And Yadav, I think, was the driver. So we lost these 11 people today, very sadly.
But these personnel were travelling in a vehicle instead of going on foot, Mr. Dev. They used the same route twice, which is again not the SOP. So why were the standard operating procedures not followed?
I am really not aware of the geographical terrain there. Were there other routes available? Were they not available? I am frankly not aware of that. And there are suggestions given in these SOPs that you could take another route, etc. But if there is one road going in and one road going out, you don't have an option. I am frankly not aware of that, so I cannot really speak authoritatively on that. And this is a tar road they were traveling on, a road which was tarred about 4 or 5 years back. They had gone by this route and they were returning by this route, which is true. And they could have used bikes, they could have been on foot, but any number of other operations in a similar fashion may not have met this sad fate today, but there has been loss of life today. They would be looking into the matter and trying to see whether there was any slip-up.
It on the face of it looks like there were slip-ups because the SOPs were not followed. But Mr. Dev, with whom does the buck stop over today's incident? Who's responsible for 10 lives lost?
Everyone. Nobody can really shirk responsibility, bottom up, top down. Everybody is involved in the entire process of management and governance. So you cannot really put the buck on any one person. It is a system that we function in. The central government forces are there, their intelligence is there, the state government forces are there, their intelligence is there, government is there, administration is there, the police forces are there. So it's not any one person, but whenever a tragedy takes place, it is best to face up together. And if there is a matter of responsibility, not put it on anybody else's shoulder. Everybody, all of us must take the responsibility.
It's 11 lives lost, 10 jawans and the driver. Someone has to be accountable. According to data provided by the CRPF earlier this year, incidents of violent Maoist attacks in Chhattisgarh dropped by 77% in 2022 compared to 2010. But the incidents of killings were increasing. Is the Chhattisgarh government ready for a return of red terror?
See, they are there. Nobody is denying that Naxalites are not present. When the state of Chhattisgarh was formed, we had, let us say, 5 battalions of paramilitary forces. Today, we have probably more than 60. We are aware that a large area has been sort of cleared or taken under control, though Naxalites could be just about anywhere. They could be in Delhi, they could be in Bhopal, they could be in Raipur, they could be in any city. They are not limited to any one track. But where the activities could have been seen as unchecked, those areas have been fairly limited now. And last, I talked to senior police officials while I was in Jagdalpur. They mentioned an area of, let us say, 40 by 100 kilometers that needed to be taken care of further. So it's a very difficult task, very difficult terrain, almost uninhabited, very difficult to deal with it, undulating, forests and jungles and streams. Many of the areas are unapproachable. And in that, it is a process where gradually things are moving towards greater control of the state machinery. It's not as if they have the run of the ground. They can do whatever they want. It is not quite like that. Things have improved, but we need to go much further ahead where Naxal activity or their presence is eliminated. So we are a little distant still from there.
Mr. Tia Singh Dev, thank you for speaking with us and making the time here at CNN News 18. But there, like you said, there is a lot more that needs to be done. Ladies and gentlemen, the reality is that they need to get it right only once. Our security forces and the establishment has to get it right every single time. And another aspect, it's not at the line of control. It's not in Jammu and Kashmir. It's not at the line of actual control or LAC. It's not in the northeast. It's in these jungles. It's to red terror that we are losing the maximum number of soldiers, our jawans, our personnel. Now, shouldn't there be a stop to this? The big question. Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, former DG Infantry with us, Major General Dhruv Katoch, Director India Foundation, and PK Mishraji, former ADG BSF with us. Namaste and Jai Hind, gentlemen. It tears your heart to talk on the fact that we've lost 11 lives. We've lost people in the line of duty who are doing their jobs. But were they sitting ducks? Were they sitting ducks, PK Mishraji?
Yes, I can well tell you, definitely they were sitting ducks. You were just telling about violation of SOP. Of course, mistakes do happen, but mistakes have happened in Chhattisgarh several times. We have lost more than 150 jawans only in Chhattisgarh. It may be Sukma, it may be Chittagopha, it may be Narayanpur, it may be Kanker, or it may be Bijapur. I have gone to this Jaram Ghati and Darba Ghati after both the incidents where Bichi Shukla was injured and that incident, and how they retreated to Malkangiri through Tulsi Dogri. Those areas also I have seen. Somebody who has gone to Bastar, then only they will come to know how difficult it is to control Bastar area.
Yeah.
It's very difficult for even one corps of army to control Bastar area. Definitely, development is taking place. But you cannot, like the state is telling, it's a law and order problem definitely of the state. But Naxalite problem, yes, it is not alone the law and order it is not a law and order problem, and it is not only with the state. Definitely it is a coordinating affair of both state and center and the intelligence group. They will act together. But the leading role should be taken by Chhattisgarh police itself. Like Punjab police, they took the leading role for wiping out the Khalistani commandos and everything, and Punjab it became quiet. So the same thing has to be done here. CPMMs are there in addition to them. The IRB battalions have to be trained. Local boys who are taken to DRGs, of course the DRGs who are local boys. But what about the training? We have got a training center in Kanker from Army, and I hope Chhattisgarh police, they can be well trained in Kanker, and they have to come to the expectation. See, like Andhra and
cannot drop your guard.
They have done through Greyhound.
One cannot drop their guard at all. The Greyhounds are an example. They're but every time there is a slip up, there is carelessness, there is loss of lives. And Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, PK Mishra ji, Dhruv Katoji, you are all veterans. You've handled explosives, especially, and you know how much explosive is required to get to blow up a road that is more than 10 feet wide, and to blow a hole in that road which is more than 3.5 to 4 feet deep. So Lieutenant General Kulkarni, for somebody to be able to sow that kind of explosives and plant them on that road, which is a tarred road. If you see the road, it's a tarred road on either side. But look at that crater. That's a lot of explosives that has been planted there.
Yeah.
5 feet deep crater is what we are given to understand. General Kulkarni.
You know, what has happened is extremely sad. Something which is avoidable, because we have to have actionable end. Much that everything has been done at all levels. It's very easy to blame so and so could have done this, so and so. What happens is the people on the ground, the boys who are there, maybe the DRG, which are the local tribals as it is brought out, who have been trained or not trained or partially trained into this kind of thing. A kind of complacency sets in. And even last time, if I recollect it, in 2010 or something, when in April, when we lost about 75, when they returned back from operations, this is what happened. We have, until and unless we have good intelligence coming in, we have to have our eyes and ears everywhere. Human end, technical end, kind of mobile towers that are required to be there. The terrain is extremely, totally jungle. It's not easy. I understand it's not easy. That's the reason one has been there. But notwithstanding that, you find a lot has been done. At a point of time, there were 140 districts affected. They came down to 76. And now that we are just about 46 districts. And who is responsible for most of the 95% of the death, and 90% of all of it is CPI Maoists. These are the people who are involved into it. So it is a very small fraction, and we have to keep a tag of it. Much that the CPI Maoists have been banned. But notwithstanding that, it's failure of intelligence, because such an explosive, Anand, you're absolutely right. It can't be put in just overnight. It was either already there when the road was constructed, like it used to happen in LTTE time, that it used to be there. There are kind of small tunnels. All that one had to do is just push in the explosive and then let it go at a time and of your choosing. One has to be very careful.
No, but if the road was laid and if these explosives were already there, it's tarred road. It's not even kacha rasta, General Dhruv Katoch. The fact is that and nearly 100 kilograms of explosive would be required to try and blow a hole that much on a tarred road. So clearly that road had been leveled. It had a bit of a height. It had some hedging on the other side. You can see the road very clearly, both sides. ये जैसे two-lane road जैसा होता है in the interiors. That's how it is. It's motorable road, proper motorable road, but it's been blown up to pieces. How could they not know? And for an operation, would you ever take only 10 people?
Anand, there are 2 points, and I would like to address both of them very, very clearly based on my own experience. One, it is my opinion that these explosives were laid not today or yesterday or day before yesterday. They were laid when the road was being built, right? And that is why they placed a huge quantity of explosives. Today, if you have to blast a road, blast a vehicle, you'll just take 5 kgs of explosives or maybe less, right? Now here, this was minimum 50 kg, if not 100 kg of explosive. So I think it has been there in the ground for a very, very long time, which makes detection practically impossible. That is one.
So you're saying the same thing as General Kulkarni, and please enlighten me. जब वो सड़क बना रहे थे उनको पता नहीं लगा because there is a certain amount of digging. There is a pressure bomb. Clearly, it's exploded to pressure.
No. This is not a pressure bomb. Please take it from me. You know, all that you have to do is, they place these explosives, there are detonators there, and then there are 2 wires which come out, right? Those wires are the only ones which are outside the ground. So at a point of time, like in this particular case, when the explosives, when it had to be blasted off, you could have had just one person, a man, a woman, a child. Anybody could have done this, and sitting about 50 yards away. So he's got a small battery with him. He connects the 2. The charge is completed, and he will do it. He will just connect the 2 points just when the vehicle is going over the culvert or the culvert or wherever this, the place where the blast took place. I've seen this time and time again. I've spent 2 years in Sri Lanka. Every time we used to go over the culvert, well, this used to be the problem. We didn't know whether the blast will take place or not.
No.
And you can't search every single man on the road. The time and space-wise, it doesn't happen. This is a challenge which we have to face time and time again.
No, thank you.
Number 2,
thank you for enlightening because, this is something which my understanding was that if you're building a road, you would know clearly if there is explosive there and it would explode because you'll have road rollers, you'll have heavy machinery there. And if it was going to be responding to pressure, it would have. But you're saying that they could just leave it there, leave those loose ends of the wire lying there, and at time of their choosing, they could just decide to connect the charges.
They're not operating on pressure switches, right? So this is not a pressure switch type of job. This is a different type of job. And it was very, very common with the LTT in Sri Lanka. I've seen that. I've also seen it in J&K. Half my life I have spent with these people. So that is one. Number 2, 10 people. I am a very firm believer in small scale operations. 10 people is the right size, if not even less. 8 people, 9 people. Don't go in for big jobs because if you have too many people on the ground moving around, they are going to get hit and hit very badly. It is simply the operating methodology which I would like to challenge because you have to do these operations in a totally different type of way. Correct. That means you go into an area which you suspect to be where the Maoists will move, right? You go there occupied by night and keep it under observation for the next 72 hours. These are difficult operations, but you lie in ambush for them. And when they expose themselves, you get them. Now, that is the way to operate. It is very, very difficult, but that is the way. Number 3, any time when I've heard of these casualties taking place, I'm sorry to say, where I ask one question: where is the officer leadership? Where is the battalion commander? Where are the company commanders? Where is the DIG? Where is the IG? Now you have all the senior officers sitting in the capital city, right? There's nobody on the ground. You have to change that. The IG and the DIG and the commanding officers must operate on the ground with the men.
This is something which I have recently, to my limited understanding and knowledge, recently in the military operations or the army operations in J&K, I've seen the CO get into the thick of the action. CO leading from the front and CO not waiting back at the barracks or waiting at the base, but actually there in the middle of the operation and leading the operation. And this question, Dhruv Katoch, has been asked multiple times, especially these red terror attacks, where are the senior officers? Where is the senior and under whose leadership does this party go? And what was the level of understanding of this person, whoever was leading these 10 jawans and in that vehicle. General Kulkarni, so thank you, General Dhruv Katoj and General Kulkarni, you had this point. Before I go back to PK Mishra ji, General Kulkarni, so what was not followed? Because one of the SOPs we're given to understand that was learned is कि same raste se wapas kabhi nahi aana. Second is don't use a vehicle. Use smaller rides or get on foot. Ji.
Ultimately, what happens is it's complacency. And at the lowest level, it's complacency because you're returning. And because you're returning, you just go gung-ho. And this is exactly what happened. They know, they've been observing what you just said, rightly you said. We have to get it right at all times. They have to get it right just once. And they've been observing it. And this is exactly what happened. You have to have concerted effort to ensure SOPs have to be followed, irrespective whether you're going into operations or returning from operations. As soon as there is complacency, just because we seem to feel that we've been able to control it, is what happens. We have to be very careful, vigilance, and vigilance, irrespective of the human end, the technical end coming in. We know that that area is infested with it. We have to be very, very careful. And I can only pray that such incidents, for lack of it, for our own complacency, must not occur. I'm sure investigations will reveal what exactly happened.
Ji, but PK Mishra ji, some of the other things. All right, let's say that this party, this DRG was a little careless. This DRG did not follow the standard operating procedure. This DRG took it a little lightly and did not have a senior officer on ground. All of this is subject to confirmation. I'm just making a hypothesis. But there are the counter questions too. Yeah. Who are these Maoists or elements who are watching this group? How did they know that they are going to come back from the same route? Then this group obviously knew that their explosives have been placed on this road, and if it's been lying, if you were to take what General Dhruv Katoj and also General Kulkarni are saying, ye pehle se wahan laga ke rakha, chhod ke gaye the. So how did these people know? So that means there is an effective communication mechanism which is happening in this belt. That means there is a very active group which is not only amassing explosives, it has already planted these explosives, its cadre know the locations, and they also are monitoring the movement of the troops.
Very correct. You have asked a beautiful question. I have listened to both the generals. I can well tell you, I have spoken to CRPF on the ground today itself. I came to know that it's a very small group of DRG group of 10 persons driven by a civil driver. They have gone in civil dress, in a civil vehicle, DRG civil vehicle, and in civil dress. They had the information of a vehicle being burnt by militants, by Naxalites in that area. So they have gone for the operation. But I can well tell you there is definitely a leakage of information. I will tell you the information and intelligence doesn't come from locals to police or locals to we people operating in that area. It is otherwise because of the pressure and force they are putting in tribal belt that the people by fear, they give more intelligence of our operation to the Naxalites. And I will tell you in this case, I have already checked into all the points.
Ji.
It was one impromptu, I repeat, it is one impromptu IED, improvised explosive device. It was laid after they went to the operation and they were supposed to return. They knew that they have gone in civil dress and they have gone in this vehicle and they will be returning. And the worst part of it, if somebody has gone to Bastar, they will come to know how Bastar is. What about the forest in Bastar? How difficult it is to operate in Bastar and how difficult to go inside. So 10 persons going inside, even if you kill 10 Naxalites also, you will be totally wiped out. It's not possible for 10 persons to go for an operation in anti-Naxal operation in Bastar area. I don't know how the commander has sent 10 DRG boys. By the way, even if they have gone also, they have returned on the same route using the same vehicle, and that was not correct. And of course, they were in civil dress. But information has leaked out, and it was there. It was laid an impromptu IED, which was laid on the return. And they were there. They planned in much better way. They had the intelligence that this party has gone, and we have to learn from our mistakes. mistakes have happened several times in Chittagofa and Dharmatolas was also in Kanker. All these areas, we have lost more than 200 of our jawans there.
But
yes.
PK Mishra ji, if I were to take
Yes.
what you are revealing here, you are saying you have spoken to the CRPF on ground, and this is special information. Information you are saying that these DRG actually went in civil dress in a vehicle. So they were not in uniform, they went in civil dress.
Yeah.
You are saying there was an intel leak. Somebody informed these terrorists, these Maoists, that there is a civil dressed party DRG group which has gone in a vehicle. My question to you is, sir, if you were to say that this is an impromptu laid device, improvised explosive device that's been placed after this party went, this group went, you see the size of the explosive, 100 kilogram ka, 50 kilogram se upar ka explosive, how could they keep and how could it not be noticed? Some questions that come to my mind is, ये टार रोड था, कच्ची सड़क होती है, मैं मानता कि साइड में कहीं खड्डा खोद के आपने उसको भर दिया या फिर आपने इसको कर दिया, but this is a proper tarred road. How could they have kept this? And
absolutely
again, this relaying of information कि ये गए ऐसी जगह गए कहाँ थे कि जहाँ पर इसी सड़क से इनको वापस आना था, how did they know?
Definitely, as because there is a leakage of information in this case, and you see this particular the distance covered from the place of their camp to that place and return. It's about 15 to 20 kilometers, and they have to return on the same road. It was known, and the vehicle was also known, and that is how they made the ambush, and they planted the IED. IED was, you see, I have seen IED planted. 32 kgs of IED was planted on main road in Srinagar several times. There is no problem of laying the IEDs up to 50 kgs. In 1 hour or in 1.5 hours. There is no problem at all. It's very easy to put it and to have, yes, you can have remote control device, like General was telling from a distance. In a remote control device, you can activate it, or it can be a pressure switch. You can do it well sitting slightly away. Anybody can do it, but you can switch it on, and a remote control device you can switch it. So this is what has happened. The SOP has not been followed, and the drones. So we have a lot of drones which were given to Chhattisgarh police for use to be used for anti-Naxal operations, and it was an anti-Naxal operation, and the drones were not used. What for the drones were given to them? It is just that, okay, we will see that it is going down. So many percentages have gone down, but you see, we have lost our 10 jawans for nothing.
I agree. Net, what stands out is whichever is the information, whether it was a pre-laid IED or a spot-laid IED, these people went there. They let their guard down. That's what stands out. That they didn't follow basic security protocol. Did they use all the information and all the equipment at their wherewithal? Could they have been a little more careful? But larger thing is this network of these elements, these Naxalis, these Maoist elements is still there, and that should raise the alarm bells that this needs to be wiped out. If they are coordinating an attack so fast within a limited period of time and information is being spread, then this network has to be nipped. This network has to be culled. That's important. Thank you, gentlemen, for your thoughts and for joining us here on Brass Tacks as we express our condolences to the families who've lost their loved ones, 10 jawans and the driver that have been consumed by an act of red terror. Moving on.